Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome. The wait is over.
Let's get this thing started.
Welcome, one and all across the nation and around the world. I welcome you all to episode 133 of the In or Out Sports Debate, brought to you by
Sartoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
I'm your host, Drew Willingham, and we are back for another great jam-packed action episode with my man, the 19-time Vault of Fame inductee, currently tied for number one in that spot here from the Student of the Game podcast, as well as the Duval Dive and many other ventures out here in these streams. Welcome back, my man, Kyle Nash.
Honor, joy, and privilege. If I keep this up much longer, I'm going to have to, learn a certain soliloquy, and that ends with woo at the end of it here for, all the WWE. Actually, that's WWF vintage, really, or WCW, depending on what decade we're talking about. Yeah, I'm making a Ric Flair reference is what I'm saying. But honor, joy, and privilege to do it here on the In or Out Sports Debate. And Drew, your beard looks particularly dapper this evening. Nothing compared to me being the Slytherin villain that was this awesome thumbnail for this episode. That's all. I'm going to show that to my daughter and see if she sees it too. That's all I'm going to say. What'd you take? 10 years off of that? Good gravy. I'm glad I shaved for that photo. I look good. Anyway, what's up, brother?
The Six said that before, he said it looked like we looked like we were two attorneys from hell there to do battle in the courtroom.
I know I was not arguing for the defense with the look in my eye there. I'm not mad at it though. Great.
Sick Diggy out here in these streams. I don't know why the comments for some reason are not showing up here, but I could see them on the other thread when it comes to YouTube. Maybe that will update in time, but he does say, "Oh, an evil grin in my face as the sinister edition of the In or Out Sports Debate begins." Shout out. Oh, there they go. Now they popped up.
There we go.
For some reason. "Oh, an evil grin is on my face as the sinister edition of the In or Out Sports Debate begins."
Let's go.
I'm rubbing my hands like the Riddler and the Batman Forever as we speak.
The green tie does lean itself to that, and I do have some Jim Carrey-esque whimsy. There's something to that. I'm not going to front on
it. He says, or NWA for that matter.
What was it? What was it that you put me? Wasn't that the NWO you did the caricature for ChatGPT on? I don't know.
Yes.
I was that public, but I was
all those.
I was the manager, I guess. I don't know. I was still among the bigger guys too. It is what it is. I could be like a sinister version of Erwin R. Shyster. There's a throwback for you. WWF wrestler Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, for those keeping track at home. That's right.
All that practice with making those movie posters, it got me ready to be back here tonight, actually. So I had a lot of fun with that. A Pizzle's out here in the streams as well, saying Dr. Drew out here in the streams. We'll shout to you, A Pizzle. Hoping we can get you on here for an episode at some point in the future. But with that said, Kyle Nash, we are here for episode 133 on February 16th, the first episode of the new year, 6 weeks in. But with that being said, we're going to take it on into the first round. Get this thing all started.
Round one.
And here with round one, the plan to continue utilizing Travis Hunter as a two-way player will be disastrous for the Jacksonville Jaguars 2026 NFL season. Kyle, how do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
I have 3 strikes in the old ball game. I am out. Let's make one thing abundantly clear, okay? These fools that are out here in these streams and these streets trying to act like that Travis Hunter's some kind of a bust, or that he was a bad trade up, or all these other various bits of foolishness that I'm seeing out there in the socials are absolutely out of their entire gutter. And there's no question for it. By the way, we went over this a little bit this past weekend on the Duval Dive. There we go. Better bell than that. And of course, Travis D. Holmes wrote a bit about that on his article in Big Cat Country about how dumb anybody who's worried about this happening is. Matter of fact, the fantasy orders are in full force complaining about the fact that his wide receiver reps might go down compared to last year. But that means he's a starting corner, which, by the way, and I get that it's hip and cool for the national media, Richard Sherman and others, Emmanuel Acho, etc., to go on stream and think it's cool to admit that you don't watch Jacksonville Jaguar games. So I know for damn sure you're not aware of their cornerback situation when it comes to contracts. The reason why Travis Hunter is going to be playing more corner is because more corners are apt to leave. The contract situation, such that it is Montaric Brown, Greg Newsome, just 2 off the bat. That'll probably be out the door this coming year. Travis Hunter hoping to fill that void. But the question is, it's going to be a disaster to utilize him in more than one place. Here's what really makes me feel like people are silly. If you have the opportunity, let me ask you this, Drew. You like to bring up Tom Brady's Patriots all the time, right? You're into that. If you bring up Troy Brown, is it incomplete to also mention that he's gotten interceptions for his time playing some corner? Absolutely, you would mention it. Travis Hunter's that on steroids and more. By the way, it's not like the Jags were bad when Travis Hunter got hurt either, but that is a whole other conversation. As the great Liam Cohen says, respect ain't coming, and it can't even come for a wholesome guy like Travis Hunter. What the hell is going on right now, Drew?
I can tell you one thing that's going to be going on right now, Kyle Nash, and that's going to be you're going to have to see my long, luscious locks because I am in. I happen to disagree on this, and yes, I don't watch as much Jacksonville Jaguar games as you or the legend
that's
Travis
a cool thing
Holmes.
to do, right? That's what Richard Sherman told us. That's a cool thing to do.
But I watch all the highlights every single week, as you know, with me keeping up with Total Football Talk, and then, of course, with other ventures out here in these streams. I still have my eye on football, right? I might not be watching every single second, but I'm seeing what at least they deem as the highlights and at least keeping up with the majority of which, a highlight video is like 30 minutes long. So you're watching still like at least half of the content in the game and seeing what you're supposed to see. And then when you break it down and you see the fact that you got your guy here, a young kid who you've already thrown out there on both sides of the football at a decent stretch, not at the same stretch as he was when he was in college playing, and you include the special teams he was doing in college too. He was like a triple way player. You and I have debated that on several episodes in the past.
100 snaps a game, bro. Yeah.
Yes, it's insane. You cannot keep up that level of stamina in the NFL, and there's no way, if you want to even make it 10 years, let alone 5 in the NFL, if you're going to play that rate, you're not going to see that. So you've got to smarten up with it and bring that package down to maybe 5-10 plays max where you're playing on offense and you're focusing primarily on defense, because he's got his eye on both sides and he's spending all that time in practice. We're just talking about the game in one facet of this, let alone practice. The kid's got to practice on both sides in order to be able to play. They're not going to just let you practice all on defense and then just throw you out there on offense during the games. So you're doing snaps on offense and mixing it back and forth. That's wearing your body down. If you keep doing that throughout training camp, in the preseason, and then throughout the season like you did this year, you already saw what happens. And they're already still planning on utilizing him as a two-way player. Forget what all of the other people that you mentioned in the names as far as what their opinion is on it. I'm thinking more along the lines of the kid's future and his health. You bring up a lot of great points where, especially when he went down, there was still a lot of great play from the other players that were able to pick up the slack with him being hurt, right? Well, you don't want to keep utilizing that. You don't want to have to keep relying on that each and every year, especially the next few years when you're trying to bank on the talent that you have on the cheap, because at some point, as they keep getting better, they're going to want more money. And you don't want to have to pay them if they're going to be injury riddled. And so far, he hasn't made it through a whole season of what you put on paper as where you want to utilize him at on both sides of the football. So my concern is the kid's future. And if you keep putting him out there as a two-way player, it's going to end disastrous, because at some point, those players you're relying on to pick up the slack, they could get hurt too, or let alone not play as well as they did when they picked up the slack the last year. And you don't want to have to keep relying on plan B when plan A should be out on the field each and every week.
And there's a lot of strength and reality to what you're saying, but let me tell you where your argument kind of caves in on itself just a little bit, right? You're worried about guys and their ability to pick up the slack, but if they don't pick up the slack, then how does Travis Hunter reduce his reps? What I think is going on, which, by the way, the pure irony that you thought I lost my damn mind this time last year-ish, where we had a topic about Parker Washington breaking out in 2025, and lo and be flip and hold, it happened. I didn't even know it was going to go that well, but it did. Parker out there somewhere, shouts to Travis Etienne, by the way, for that post-game comment, because I've been carrying that for months now. Watch Parker out there somewhere, but I added.
Yeah, I took this on that. Okay.
See, what I won't do is make a Winnie the Pooh holes comment here. But that being said, there's some nostalgia for you. But that was a
surprise, motherfucker.
For me too. It was a baseball topic. Anyway. No, but where I think that what you're saying actually holds water and ties into it all, I don't think Travis Hunter's going to do the 80% snap thing that had been intimated and hinted at one point, at least not to start with, right? And keep in mind, Travis Hunter has spent as much time as he has on offense. He knows a lot of the same playbook. They managed to hold on to Grant Inductee at offensive coordinator. Liam Cohen's still the head coach. His role may be a little different, meaning they may not have him all over the place trying to find where in the offense he'd fit. Oh, should we put him as a slot? Should we have him do this? Should we have him do that? Blah, blah, blah. I think he'll have a specific place in the playbook where he should play. Probably, if I'm going to guess, a lot of people are trying to say that, he's a speed guy only. For me, I would rather use Travis Hunter as a slot guy, right? Have him find success where apparently De'Ami Brown did not win over Coach Liam Cohen after his arrival. And I don't think it's a lack of talent. I just think it's a lack of fit with what ended up going on. And listen, at the end of the day, if you're in a scenario where BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, and Travis Hunter are your three, with Brenton Strange at the tight end spot, with Travis Etienne in the backfield at running back, holy God. Okay, so if you want to throw out there, to your point, 5 to 10 snaps a game on offense, that sounds fine. He's a starting corner if the defense is doing their job, holding guys and keeping the offense from being prolific. All of a sudden, you might have a recipe for actual success there. So that still means he's a two-way player if he's playing 5 to 10 snaps or on offense. So yeah, I think that's the key to success. What's interesting is what you're talking about, Drew, has everybody pissed off. They're worried about the fact there could be a reduced role on offense. But I would remind the public at large, you needed to go down to the bottom of the barrel in the roster because so many guys were hurt. Austin Trammell was playing, for Christ's sake, off the practice squad. Things got desperate, man. Okay? So all I'm saying, if they're healthier at wide receiver this year, then you'll see less Travis Hunter. But that works both ways. If they have those same kind of injuries, they're going to have to get the production from somewhere. And it may just be Travis Hunter playing more offense than they would have intended.
Very, very solid take on that, Kyle Nash. And we do have a decent amount of comments that came in from Sick throughout this discussion that I definitely want to bring up. Right before we got into the discussion, though, he brought this up. He said, Money Incorporated is a great I can't even talk. You got me all twisted on that topic there, Kyle Nash. He said, Money Inc. is a great analogy. Andrew Willingham has the beard, but needs the tux. Student of the game just needs the glasses and the Halliburton briefcase. Well, he's got the glasses. He just needs the Halliburton briefcase now. You got to get it now, Kyle Nash.
Everybody's got a price. I know that's your line, Ted, but somebody had to say it. Anyway.
Hey, Ted was in the NWO, so you could be the Ted DiBiase.
Hey, and I'm wearing the tie. Let's go. Okay, I'm with that. Listen, you can do worse than Ted DiBiase as an analogy.
I'm actually curious to see how this turns out. A major factor would be the rotation of available wide receivers and cornerbacks on the Jaguars roster this upcoming season. It's very good point.
And be mindful of Sick Diggy's very careful caps use of available wide receivers. That's right, because BTJ had his mental thing where he wasn't catching the ball for the first 4 weeks of the season. Then he had some wrist injury issues and all that other stuff. Parker out there somewhere. Taking nothing from Jacoby Myers as well. But yeah, and it's funny, we hadn't really gone over defensive back injuries as well. Over and above Hunter missing, right? Eric Murray had neck issues. Jordan Lewis was out before the end of the year, missed the playoff game, for example. So many things that went wrong in that secondary. Again, it feels like they're always just littered with injuries. That's why Montaric Brown ended up being a starter as a guy who's normally a slot guy as a physical corner. He was starting on the outside. So, yeah, all these things are true. But one thing that the Jacksonville Jaguars under Liam Cohen have done better than the previous regime with Trent Baalke and Dougie P, and it's not close by miles, is self-scouting and their ability to adapt week to week. You think that we're going to do it this way and it's just going to be this for the rest of the year? No. The team they are playing across on a particular Sunday, Thursday, or Monday is what will determine how many snaps Travis Hunter gets where, in my opinion.
Very true. Very, very true. And Sick even adds with that, he says, I don't watch a lot of Jacksonville Jaguars football, but my view is based on logic, football knowledge, and common sense.
I think there's somebody who has that same approach similar to you in common, and that is Liam Cohen. Okay, there you go. How about that?
And he said I had a good point with Hunter's longevity in the NFL will be determined on how often he plays on both sides of the ball.
I'll add to this. I don't think it happens beyond the first 3 or 4 years. It depends on how his health holds up, honestly. But if he has a 10-year career, I don't think he does it for the entire 10 years, right?
Yeah, because I feel like we cycle through a lot of wide receivers, but there's not as many great cornerbacks in the game today as we have wide receivers. And
there's only one long-term a corner that's not Aqib Talib that comes to mind is another guy that wore your because that was their name at the time, that wore your Redskins attire, and Darryl Green, right? So that's the one. That's one who is a long-term guy that comes to mind.
Champ Bailey had a good run too.
He did. That's a good point for Champ. He both.
Champ kind of carried the reins. I mean, Darryl Green kind of passed the reins off to Champ Bailey. Then, of course, he got traded for Portis and then played, for quite a bit in Denver. But I really wish that he could have got a ring, could have been there during the time that Denver. But, of course, he wasn't playing by that point when they won in 2015. But definitely appreciate the call out with that, Sick. And he also says how many defensive and offensive coordinators can work together and utilize a two-way player strategically.
I think the Jags front office is one of the rarities, right? Because they have that culture. It's so amazing to me how similar in concept the Jags front office is to Deion Sanders handling business in Colorado. And then they're kind of that, I don't want to say misfit, but sort of misfit point of view that like they're not necessarily worried about what everybody else is doing. This could work for us, right? We have there in Jimmy Stones, aka James Gladstone, their GM is on record saying, and I quote, F them picks when it came to going to acquire Travis Hunter. I think that's I don't know that there's many franchises that could handle that. That's a good point by Sick.
Very, very solid point, Sick. Appreciate that. And we still have 4 more great rounds that we have to get to out here in the comments. As he says, always remember to pay your taxes. Erwin R. Shyster, IRS, either that or catch a write-off. Absolutely, because tax season is here among us. With all that being said, it's time now to take it on into round number 2.
Round 2.
Here with round 2. Over this past weekend, Mac McClung opting out of this year's NBA dunk contest is bad for the league. Kyle, how do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
You know, it's a good thing it's getting a little bit warmer because it's time for that swimwear, which means I am in there. It's one thing when you have major stars like Drew Willingham's favorite guy, Yo King, LeBron James, or forgoing it, or, you know, any other stars that are coming into play. What was it? I think it was Jace Richardson of the Magic. I'm giving myself a bell for remembering it, that had to get involved in the dunk contest because people were hurt or something. I don't know. The days of the stars being in the dunk contest have been long gone. And if already that wasn't exposed, Mac McClung, by the way, another Magic player at one point at least, you know, opting out of it is a whole other contest. But what it really does is shed the light on what I believe has been the case for a long time. You got the Magic jersey right there. The truth for the slam dunk contest for a long time is that it's well past its due. I've had more fun watching the 3-point contest for at least a decade now, and that's if I even get to sit down to do that. God knows I'm not watching the damn game. That's a whole other question. But I don't care how much I'm missing football. And by the way, my kid did happen to have his soccer game in the afternoon, from where I went immediately to go watch UCF women's basketball with the black and gold banneret. So I was busy for my own right. But nonetheless, yeah, the dunk contest has been a relic for some time already. This is just another example of that being exposed like Janet Jackson in a half.
When it comes to this topic at hand, I do not disagree. I am in. I mean, the fact that it got to the point to where a G League player had to come and be a part of this to save the slam dunk contest is bad enough as it is. When you look back to 2023, when he won his first one, right? He was with Philadelphia, or in their G League system then.
Well, he's a two-way player, right? So that means
as a two-way
up at any point. For those who may not know that that's a thing, yeah.
But primarily G League player, you know, and at the time that he was called up to the big times to participate in the NBA slam dunk contest, he was the first ever G League player to ever participate and then win, right? So, which made it even bigger. Now you look at the fact that he's won 3 straight, and you look at his career from the point in which he was doing that. He's been in the league for the past 5 years. You know, he's from Virginia, ironically, you know, another side of it, you know, the country part of it where I'm not, or like the mountain area or whatnot, Gate City, you know, but anyway, you know, he's still, the team that he was part of is still the only state champion that has come out of that school before, no, and since, no. Only team ever in his senior year that they did that. And when he went to college, you know, starting Georgetown, transferring to Texas Tech, left a year early, which looking back on it, it might have hurt him a little bit, because when he went undrafted in the NBA, he's kind of bounced around. He's played for 5 different teams within the league, as far as up to the bit where he's gotten called up on those 2-way contracts that you mentioned, right? So he's gambled with this whole slam dunk contest. And now he's looking out for himself, because he's basically telling the NBA, I've done all of this for you, yet there's no team that's willing to think that I'm worth more than this 2-way contract, that I'm worth more than just bouncing around between G League to calling up for maybe a week to 10 days, and you're sending me back down, or you're calling me up at the end of the season when they expand the rosters for the end of the season / playoff run, right? Which, you know, he feels like he's better than that. The man's jumped over Kias to slam dunk for the contest and then get these championships. Like in the photo here, I put all 3 of them up. He got 2 of them while he was part of the Magic's G League's team, and he got 1 with Philly. So here he is with all 3 of them, all 3 years. In this past year, he could have made it 4. Only 1 to go 3-peat in this generation of NBA stars, and he feels like he's better, and he's betting on himself, and he's basically telling the NBA, like, if if there's no team out there that's willing to bet on me, and I've been carrying the NBA slam dunk contest for the past 3 years, why should I go out there? And then we see the results of this past weekend. It was a lackluster slam dunk contest, Kyle Nash. Like, I'll be honest, I didn't watch it from start to finish. I watched the highlights. And yes, I did listen to what some other people had to say critic-wise. But then when I watched it back highlights, there's nobody jumping over Kias. There's nobody jumping over people that are sitting, that you got somebody sitting on somebody's shoulders, and he's jumping over them to slam dunk the ball like he did. Kia or not, Kyle Nash, it absolutely was trash this past weekend. Okay, let alone this whole NBA All-Star weekend and how it's gone down, the Pro Bowl, all sorts of stuff. The past month in sports outside of the Super Bowl has been pretty lackluster, and this is part of it, Kyle Nash. You can't even get a G League player to want to play in your NBA slam dunk contest. He's got to put his foot down, and I'm not even mad at it. I agree with it. It's bad when you have to rely on your minor leagues to carry a portion of even if it's just for an hour, a spectacle that Michael Jordan himself, we'll talk more about him in a little bit, but yes, to many eyes, Michael Jordan, the GOAT, he's the one who helped put the slam dunk contest on the map, right?
Yeah, exactly. That what is it? That one duel between him and Dominique Wilkins, where Dominique Wilkins clearly won, but they gave it to Jordan because it was in Chicago.
Yes.
Absolutely, that one.
Yes, yes. I hear you on that very solid point. I didn't want to think about that because somebody wants to think about somebody else being better than a GOAT.
It's okay to think about Dominique Wilkins, man. The human highlight film. What's wrong with that? Come on now.
It's okay to think about it, but Michael Jordan has his own shoe line and so many other things out there that revolve around him dunking a basketball.
Tell him.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I feel.
If you think it was just the dunk contest, he might take that personally. And we've seen that's trouble you don't need.
But right here and now, when we fast forward 30, almost 40 years later, right? The 80s, the mid 80s was like when Michael Jordan, so like we'll say 40 years later after Jordan was putting it on the map, right? A good 35 to 40 years later. G League player doesn't even want to do it. And then as a result of him not wanting to do it, you have your NBA talent in there, and it's not as good as when he was jumping over Kias.
Sounds like the Kia to the trash can is what I'm saying. Anyway,
that's another topic for another day. But when it comes to that, on top of that, you had them having to have 2 and 3 attempts just to get the ball in the hoop on the dunking. When Mac was doing it with a Kia on the first try, I have to give it to him. Give him his props.
Here.
Shout out for sticking to his guns, along with one of the greatest actors in Christmas movies of all time.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I mean, whenever he actually stars in a Christmas movie, I'll find that very interesting. Let's move on.
Sick is out here saying, I'm out, truth be told. When was the last time that there was actually a dunk contest worth watching?
Some of these with Aaron Gordon and Dwight Howard were pretty good. The whole Superman gimmick was good. That's a long ass time ago now, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back on it, it was like 17, 18, 19 years ago when Blake Griffin first did it over a car. Like that was the first time somebody had dunked in the dunk contest over a car. You look back to last year, in the last couple of years, McClung doing it, and it's like, I don't blame him. It's like, what else can you really do after that? Like,
I got 3 of them. What are we doing right now?
Yeah, you got 3 of them. You jumped over a damn car. Like, I'm not mad at him. And yes,
you could claim the Murtaugh rule. I'm getting too old for this. Bleep,
I need to get that clip for this. I really need to, that'd be perfect for some of these, especially for a topic we have coming up here soon. And Six says, to your point, the Winter Olympics have kept me entertained this month.
I mean, listen, that one shot that the Americans had to in curling to secure the gold over Canada, way better than the dunk contest.
That is one sport I've always wanted to try, is curling.
Cool.
Because
No pun intended.
shuffleboard is very similar. It's like where you can throw it or whatever. And yes, if I ever have to go to a nursing home one day, it has to have a shuffleboard because where one of my last employers, it had a shuffleboard in there in the break room. It was great. I had way too much fun with it, and I got really good at it. And we got really competitive. We were taking score. We had brackets. We had way too much fun. It was ridiculous. but anyway. If I could, that would be the one thing I would try because it's pretty similar to it, except for you have your little broom and you're slowing it down. Pretty cool. So yeah, sweet.
Hard. It was funny hearing the Canadians shout it too because they did it with an accent. Hard. Anyway, it's the whole thing.
The NBA's All-Star Weekend has become uninteresting in the past decades and whatnot.
No debate there. Next question.
I got to give Sick a.
Oh, my brother, testify.
I had to give him a testify along with it because
you got it right.
I mean, it's starting to get this way about this too when it comes to the NBA.
What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs?
I mean, that's getting lackluster too.
As close as you are to the Wizards geographically, I could see why that's your attitude about the NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
Anthony Davis, though, am I right?
I was about to say they got AD, but for how long?
I'll let you know. I'll give you feedback after I head over to the Magic on March 2nd when the Wiz are in town. So there you go.
Well, he might be on the walking injury report because that's what he's become, is literally walking injury report. Yeah.
But enough about Joel Embiid. Anyways.
There's a movie about curling here in Norway from 2013, quite comedic. Is it like Long Runnings?
I was about to say, is it like Cool Runnings? Yeah, like
or a lot of Cool Runnings.
Yeah, the Jamaican bobsled team. I wonder if it has that vibe. I'm with you on that.
At least I had the runnings part right. Don't count me in for not Jeopardy, but
Wheel
Wheel of Fortune. I'm filling that in. At least I had it 4 letters.
We would be a great team on Wheel of Fortune. We're at a team game.
Bro, I got stories about Wheel of Fortune for days. Sick. Let us know in the comments if they have a Wheel of Fortune in Norway because I'm curious now. And if they do, is it the Pat Sajak? Well, now it's desecrated because Ryan Seacrest is the host, and I hate it, but I still watch it sometimes.
If you have it, is your chick hotter than Vanna White? That's my question.
Yes. He says he loves Cool Runnings.
Yes.
But let us know if the movie you were talking about, the 2013 curling one from Norway, if it's like Cool Runnings.
I'm all about that. No, they don't.
No, they don't. No, they don't. But hey, keep it. Let us know if they have a Wheel of Fortune in Norway, what it's called, and also
if they ever get one. You mean, yeah,
about the curling and the Cool Runnings, because we have to take it on into the next topic, which is round 3. There's no breaking news tonight, but we will have an interesting closing of the show. I can at least tell you that. Let's take it on into round 3.
Round 3.
And here with round 3, the Washington Commanders made the right move by voiding ya boy, wide receiver Deebo Samuel's contract. And I say ya boy because he came from San Francisco. Kyle Nash, how do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the topic at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
Drew, I am in.
Okay.
First of all, it's not that I'm unimpressed by what Deebo Samuel can do on a football field, but if you think I was in favor of the 49ers throwing the cash at him that he was about to get from elsewhere, be it the Jets or your Commanders, you're out of your bleeding mind. There is no universe where that guy should have been retained on the 49ers roster in a world where we're trying to keep Trent Williams, the actual MVP of that offense, on the roster. No, sorry. Bye. The fact that he can't stay healthy at all, anybody throwing that money at him, it was going to be an absolute risk. Now, credit to your Commanders for upgrading your beef up front the way you did. I'm still sending Christmas cards, by the way, for bringing Trent Williams our way over there in San Francisco. So thank you very much for that. But the fact, like, Laramie Tunsil's the dude you got, right? And then you upgraded the line overall is a big reason why you may have thought he could have continued to last. But yeah, Deebo Samuel, it was a fine little experiment over there. I can see having a gadget guy like that to kind of work together with Scary Terry is a thing that might have been nice to help. And then, amplify whatever you have there with Jane Daniels. I see some there, but it's time to come off the experiment at this point. I mean, the dude did a lot at different positions. His body took a beating. The thing you're worried about happening to Travis Hunter is what happened to Deebo Samuel.
I've been really tossing and turning on this over the past day, and I don't even know why, but yesterday I probably would have agreed with you on this, and in the days leading up to it, but for some reason today, I'm gonna have to disagree. I'm out. The $12 million dead cap is what I'm concerned about, Kyle.
Of course.
Okay. That's a lot of money to have on the table that will have off the table that, if you would have just kept him, and yeah, you might not have gotten the production out of it that $12 million would have paid. At the same time, it's a lot better than paying it, losing it, and you're getting nothing out of it. I mean, what are you really going to get in free agency and in the draft this year that can be better than Deebo? Not saying that, he's like, Terry out there and you're replacing that. Because if we were talking about this like last offseason, Terry leaving and trying to replace that, then that's a whole different discussion trying to replace Deebo than it is trying to replace Terry McLaurin, right? But for this, because of the dead cap, there's a lot of money that's left on the table when things don't work out between a player and a franchise. Deebo played very similarly to how he played, his way out in San Francisco, where big name, big talent, and your eyes on paper because that's what you're paying him, but he's not giving you the results of what you're paying for. Now, in my opinion, if you're going to lose that money by releasing him, why not just keep him and try to make it work with the best of what you got? Because are you really going to put someone better in that roster spot that's going to play better than Deebo when you can still add that person and potentially cut somebody else off of it that wasn't going to play anyway at another position somewhere else and just have an extra wide receiver? With all the injuries that you had last year, Terry got banged up. There was a few moments where Deebo did okay, right? You're paying him more to play.
That's a glowing endorsement.
You're paying him to play better than okay, yes. But it wasn't like you gave up a whole lot in the trade to get him at the same point. I mean, because you're already going to give up a lot with paying him in the salary. I get it. But if you're going to release him and you're going to have to take the hit, if it's only 1 year left on the deal is what it was anyway, why not see if one extra year with the offense and, Jaden and playing for a contract at that point, if he can actually do something, I wouldn't say like Pickens, because what Pickens did in Dallas was completely different, and he's not even playing anywhere close to that level. But when you're motivated with an expiring contract, you usually get the best out of the player. And Deebo is older. He's on the wrong side of the career as far as where he's going to be for the next few years, where eventually his ride's going to be over in comparison to somebody like Pickens. But you put a player up against the wall with a 1 year deal. We saw it with Diggs and with the Texans. And look at what happened with him with the Patriots. Now, off the field, it's a different story and a different discussion for another time. But when you put somebody out there that has 1 year left on their deal, or they sign for a 1 year deal, or whatever the case may be, usually you get the best out of them. Sam Darnold, another position, with the Vikings and what he did. Other positions, other opportunities, back against the wall, you get the best out of them. But I think that the Commanders might have cut bait a little bit too soon. You're already paying that money. You already have other spots that you need to fill and focus on before you even really think about adding more receivers and bolstering that up. How about your offensive line to protect your quarterback? now that you have $12 million in dead cap, that's less you can focus there too. So, I mean, how do you feel about that? Were you very surprised that I was going to go that route with this one?
No. I mean, the dead cap makes sense, but if I'll put it this way, to at least leave room for the roster spot, to at least make room for the roster spot and that piece, you're going to have to pay that money whether he's on the field or not. I don't know enough. I don't know enough about what else could go on. Maybe they're looking for some sort of a exemption with that. You mentioned the 12 million dead cap. That's less than the 15 that he might have been due total. So there's that, I guess. But that's a big number. It's not Russell Carrington Wilson big, but at least you can save something to bring in a guy that can give you a replacement at a $3 million price tag for 1 year and be more productive than a dude that won't see the field.
Very true. Very, very true. And 6 says, given how Deebo can't stay healthy, how can you keep him on the Commanders roster? Yeah. And that's what he was saying that around the time that you were talking with your point. Mm-hmm. And then when I was talking mine, he says, fair point. This is professional football, and the salary cap is a major factor. If Deebo can do something worthwhile this upcoming season, he could have earned his keep. I'll add that in there because he could have. He's no longer there, but he will not be able to do that now because he's looking for a new team for 2026. And for that, Deebo,
You can't handle the truth.
I'm sure that you can. I'm hoping that you can sign a contract somewhere and this happens to you.
I think I got my swagger back. Oh.
That would be nice. That would be nice if that could happen to him. Who knows? But the one positive thing, and that's why I said your boy at the beginning, because with the 49ers, there's been a lot of his past teammates that are on the 49ers that say nothing but great things about him as a teammate. When it comes to him being a teammate and being part of the locker room, even the Commanders players, they say glowing things about him. So when it comes to being part of the culture and being part of the fit, there's nothing wrong with him. It's just the production on the field. And even and the one thing you don't hear enough of that when players lose, a step or just aren't working out on the field anymore. You don't get a lot of the praise like Deebo has gotten. Of course, they'll say nice things, especially if you're like retired on your way out. But I do have to give him his flowers with that. Not a lot of you don't get that kind of love all the time, and a lot of love has come out for him over the discussion of him no longer being with the Commanders. That I have to give him his flowers for.
I mean, yeah, he's a good guy. I don't think anybody will question that. But for all what his teammate says, when the GM looks at the price tag, I don't care if it's John Lynch or Bishop Bullwinkle. The answer is very, very clear as to what would be said.
I got you now that you said it.
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, to the no.
I had to.
You go from John Lynch to Bishop Bullwinkle. That's a segue, folks. Production extraordinaire, Drew Willingham.
Stop it. Get some help.
Or they'll say that too.
We're on him later. It's okay.
For all of you out there, Sick Diggy, and for all of you like A Pizzle who've tuned in, left some comments from now and upcoming for the rest of this show. Gotta say this to you.
What's that?
Shout out to all of you because I meant to click that earlier in the program, but I just got it out the way right now. There's one more button I have to click. We do have to take a quick commercial break. When we come back on the other side of it, we do have 2 final rounds to get to you, a round 4 and a final round. We'll see you here on the other side of this couple-minute commercial break.
Hey, what's good, everybody? This is your boy Corey, host of The Grind, where we talk about all things WWE. You can catch The Grind every single Saturday, 4 p.m. Eastern. 4 4 p.m. Eastern, right here on Sertoba Media. And if you're not following Sertoba Media, then what are you doing? Like, share, subscribe. There are many different things that we have available on Sertoba Media for your viewing pleasure. And I mean, what else you got to do on a Saturday afternoon? Come spend some time with me. Come spend some time with my colleagues on this platform. Help us be able to bring everything that you all want to see. Matter of fact, you know what? If you ain't did it yet, I got something for you. Stay true to what you do. Stay true to why you do. And always stay true to you.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, look. Hey, stop playing games. Y'all already know. Go ahead and toss him some Willie Bucks. Ain't nobody playing around. Hey, $sign DWillie87. Go ahead and hit him up on the Cash App and go ahead and give him some Willie Bucks. Look at Drew looking stoic, ladies and gentlemen. Stoic on that $10 bill. So go ahead, slide my man over some Willie Bucks, and we good. That's all I'm saying. We good. How about some Willie Bucks?
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Do you like talking sports? Do you like entertainment? Do you like the occasional series of heated discussions?
Are you in and out, Drew?
With that said,
Drew, Drew, I'm hearing a bunch of stuff in your mind. I know you know this team very well. Are you in and out, my friend?
Then you must see this. Drew Willingham versus random panelists. Who wins? You decide on the In or Out Sports Debate. Live. Whenever the we feel like it. Eastern Standard Time. Exclusively on Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
Welcome back to the In or Out Sports Debate. I'm your host, Drew Willingham, along with my man, Kyle Nash, on this Monday evening for episode 133. We are live, back from one epic commercial break. I always, for some reason, not trying to toot my own horn. There's something about that final commercial we just saw. Whenever the bleep we feel like it. I don't know why. I feel it in my soul every time. I love it. I absolutely love it, Kyle Nash. How do you?
You follow that up with my Lucifer Morningstar portrait there too in the thumbnail. That's a hell of a combination. There you go. What is it you desire, Drew Willingham? You know.
I'm wondering what law you're going to throw at me to defend against whatever we got going on in the courtroom, because when it comes to you in this picture right here, I feel like I've already lost the courtroom battle. I have the nice tie on. I have a greater tie, but when it comes to the courtroom battle, I already feel like I've been defeated already.
Well, hey, listen. First of all, it's green because, you know, Money Inc., right? Thanks for that reference, Ziggy. But hey, that's the student of the game tie, brother. It doesn't go down quite far enough to where you see the logo at the bottom. But yeah, that's why it's green. Just so you know, for those who didn't.
Great times out here in these streams. My man, Kyle Nash, we do have 2 more rounds we got to get to. I'm really looking forward to them. Let's go ahead and take it on into round 4.
Round 4.
And here with round 4, becoming the oldest NBA player to record a triple-double last Thursday at the age of 41. LeBron James is officially the greatest of all time. Kyle Nash, how do you feel about this one? Do you agree with the statement at hand? Are you in or are you out on this one?
Oh, my gosh. All right. Fat kid in dodgeball time. I am out. Listen, I'm not going to take a lot of time with this. We know why this is here, and I'm hopeful that Drew Willingham has a black-colored neck brace to make sure he stays healthy, talking about okay, because we all know that that's about what's going to come here. This might be a cheap setup, which is interesting coming from a dude that was referred to as Ted DiBiase earlier. Anyways, listen, obviously it's a good accomplishment, a fantastic accomplishment for somebody of Bron's age to get a triple-double. Jordan is still my GOAT. That has never changed, regardless of what Drew Willingham may want you to think about my stance on LeBron James. I'm just in that awkward position of having to always seem to end up defending this Humpy Bumpy on this show. I don't know how it happens. It happens that way. But yeah, no, this is wonderful that it happened. Heck, if he doesn't do that, what else are the Lakers doing that's even relevant this year that's not named, Luka Doncic or Austin Reeves as well? So, I mean, yeah, and it's a good way to him having this in this last year with the Lakers. What will probably be his last year with the Lakers. I don't think they're going to extend him. I think he's going to play out his contract, and he'll be done in LA, all that other stuff. But no, that doesn't make him the GOAT, and he wasn't the GOAT going into it. What are we talking about here, Drew? What the hell?
Kyle Nash. I'm very, 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 very approving of what you have to say.
Are you really? I'm so surprised.
Very approving of. I completely agree with what you have to say for the majority of it, except for one thing when it comes to the fine print of this right here. I disagree with you on that. I am upon this graphic right here lays a LeBron James as he is flopped on the ground. He is still the greatest of all time at flopping onto the ground and getting pacified calls. Yes. He is the greatest of all time, like Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II, when it comes to writing history, Kyle Nash. Okay. He is the greatest of all time when it comes to and getting a foul, okay? It's literally what he did, and he would get a foul out there. Look at him laying on the ground. He's even making that noise while he's laying on the ground right now. Kalash is what he's doing right now on the ground. He's wearing his crown. He is on his throne as the greatest of all time to flop on the ground, get the foul call, get the 2 shots, put them in, and how he's able to pad so many points on that 42,000 points list that he has, where he's almost at 43,000, the all-time greatest scorer in NBA history, Kyle Nash. Okay. Look at him laying on the ground. He flopped off of himself. He is dribbling down the right side of the graphic, flopping off of himself. That's how he got those calls, Kyle Nash. That's how he's the greatest of all time. That's how he's been able to play for so long, like Tom Brady was able to play for so long. He helped rewrite the rule book to where he literally could fall on the ground, get calls, and keep throwing them in and be a contributor to those Heat teams, to those Cavalier teams, to those Laker teams. And he won't do it for the next team he plays for because he's too old to fall on the ground. But he did it up until Bubble Championship Series time. Kyle Nash, I agree with you 1,000% that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time to ever play the game of basketball. But I disagree when it comes to because of the fact that he recorded a triple-double at the age of 41. LeBron James is officially the greatest of all time. He is, but in a different description, as the greatest flopper of all time.
Is that it? Did I get it right? What do I even do with this, bro? Like, first of all, doing it at an age where I know people who hurt themselves sneezing, getting a triple-double. Like, we got to give this dude a little dap. Let's not get stupid here. But no, come on. Like, aren't the Lakers fans getting enough? They got Luka Doncic and they still can't do nothing. And that ain't Bron's fault, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
We do have some comments. I do have a new one here. DWAP26. What's up there, hey, DWAP from DWAP to D Willie right here in the house. Shout out to you. Saying was good, everybody. Even 6 said what's up to him. And 6 says, as far as I go, hats off to LeBum Shame.
Oh, for goodness sake.
But I'll never see him as the greatest. He's the floppiest of all time. He's a floppiest of all time. Not a goat, but a foot.
Does that make Thomas Edward Patrick Bieber Brady II the woat, the whiniest of all time? You see how much he would cry for calls himself, right?
Now, that is absurd.
Is it? I remember it very distinctly. He kicked what was it? Jadeveon Clowney kicked Jadeveon Clowney after being sacked and then begged the ref for a call. But nobody wants to talk about that. Anyways.
Yeah.
And I'll give you that one, Kyle Nash. He also says his record has more padding than the shoulders on a woman's business suit jacket.
That's just mean.
Especially those ones from like the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
they're not
I was thinking that too. Like
they're not as
right, like
they're not as bad today as they once were, but I remember them back in the day. They were like shoulder pads for like
they can make a tackle.
Uniforms. Yeah, they literally could take you out with their business jacket. Like it was bad. Kyle Nash, it was so bad. But at least we were there to see it. These kids nowadays have no idea about it. But yes, LeBron James and his longevity, he's done great things. I mean, when you spend like $1 million a year sleeping in a chamber, Ted Williams and yourself, then yes, you can definitely do that.
That's a great verb. Put that out there on Urban Dictionary. Goodness gracious.
Ted Williams and yourself. That was wild. But I didn't expect I was going to throw that one out there. But anyway, with the cryogenic chambers and stuff, doing what he's doing, there's not a lot of people that can do what he's doing because they're not investing in their bodies like he is. So I give him his hats off to that. But as much as you want to throw shade at Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II in football, I have every right to do it for LeBron James. Yo, in the NBA. And I hadn't even done that until now. So I'm proud.
I know, and it still looked painful. Good God.
It actually was a little painful. That's the first time in 2 months I've done that.
You didn't do your warm-up exercises. That's on you. You had the commercial break and everything.
I kind of did have a little bit of a warm-up exercise with the I don't even know if I'm doing it the same as I did. I just kind of off the cuff did it. It's literally like when you watch him, when he would take his little flop, especially off of himself, like in this graphic, is what it looked like he was doing. He was falling to the ground. So, but Six says, mean. That was rather tame by comparison.
Yeah, that was the best I could think of in terms of a word, Sick. That's my bad. No, that's not right. Maybe that's what I should have said. Anyway.
That was definitely a great one. We still have one more great one to take it on into, and that is the final round. One that, when delivering the roster, Kyle Nash was like, but I know he came here with the fire, ready to rock and roll to talk about this one.
Final round.
And here with the final round, Kyle Nash, the NFL should take action against Steve Tisch for his transactional friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. When it comes to this topic right here, how do you feel about it? Are you in? Or are you out on this?
I'm about to get real unpopular in this beast. I am out, Drew Willingham. And no, this isn't just me trying to create and collect lawyer fees based on the thumbnail with my badassery that Drew Willingham provided you, as I'm apparently badass enough to defend people in hell. And I would need to if they're connected to Jeffrey Epstein, as those people might think. But that's not where I'm going here. I'm not here to say that Steve Tisch is innocent by any stretch of the imagination. Although, to be fair, there's a lot of names in the NFL hierarchy that are on the list due to things that are completely, like Epstein wanted to have a party that involved the Dolphins football game or something. And so, Stephen Ross got mentioned, for example. Those kinds of things did happen. I don't know Steve Tisch's role. I that's not where I sit. That's not where I'm at. Where the NFL can't afford to do this is who knows what discovery could dredge up. and who among the ownership and the league that could also hurt, and what trouble that could cause for the NFL, the sport that you and I love watching on a regular basis. But let's pretend that they were absolutely squeaky clean and no such issues took place, and they went through discovery and somehow came out unscathed. You want to go to war with a group of people that are hiding behind this or away from this, depending your point of view, with this whole scandal that goes up to the presidency and the federal government. You want to get into a legal battle with this lot of people. That's just not a good plan. As big as the NFL is, at the end of the day, you're just a sports league. This is in the words of in Kurt Russell and Tombstone is Wyatt Earp. This is trouble we don't need. I get the moral stance aspect of it. The law is there to handle these things, not a sports league. This goes back to points I made all the way to the Ray Rice incident where the NFL caught hell when their first suspension of Ray Rice wasn't enough. They did what was commensurate with the legal system. And then when the NFL didn't suspend him like you wanted it, you blame the NFL, even though the legal system got it wrong. Can we please focus on the legal system getting it right? Now, granted, I also mentioned the people who are currently in power and things like that. I get they're obviously a big stumbling block to that in and of themselves. This is not a political show. I'm not trying to open that can. But at day's end, what does the NFL actually gain? Because they don't actually gain moral high ground because they don't have it, probably, allegedly, right? If they go into discovery, something else is going to get dug up. And then what? So that's where it starts alone. Then, again, best case scenario is you're going to war with Donald Trump and the federal government potentially and other key power players that are trying to protect themselves from what's going on with this whole Epstein situation. No. It's a zero. This is a no-win scenario. You have to let it go and let other entities whose jobs it is, who have the resources to do the battle, do that. You're a sports league. You aren't going to win this one.
That's very, very good take. And it does make it very difficult to go against that. However, even though you almost kind of convinced me not to, for the sake of debate, I'm going to have to say that I am in. Kyle Nash, very, very solid take when it comes to not going up against the federal government. But I will have to say it along the lines of this. We've had other owners in the past who have misbehaved, right? And they have been disciplined within the NFL circles, right? You look at Jerry Richardson, you look at Daniel Snyder, and now, and even Jim Irsay, the late Jim Irsay, rest in peace. But, it was kind of on a different level than what we're talking about right here. If you dig more into it and they find out that Tish actually, had some transactions within there, the fact that you have a transactional friendship and you're talking openly through email communication about it as someone in power of an NFL team, I feel like they can still take action against him based on the merit of that and on the morality, even though you said you're going against the morality argument on that one, because if you're going to go against emails for Snyder and his staff, and then you had the Gruden situation and you got all of that and you're going to punish people because of that. This is an open discussion of transactions of females regardless and setting up meetings to meet with them and procure other things, with me saying it in the greatest way for the airwaves and for us to protect ourselves,
shall we say, right?
But if you're going to openly do that through email and you have Daniel Snyder in that situation where they're talking about that stuff, which is kind of along these lines, is the closest thing I can really compare it to.
Yeah.
And even though we all wanted him out of there anyway, because of how he was running the organization, him and his family were doing a horrible job running the team. It worked out great for the Commanders, now formerly known as the REDSKINS, and the football team, for all that to happen. The Giants are in a very similar situation where they have ownership that hasn't been doing the greatest job with having 17 head coaches in the last 10 years, it feels like, because, over the last half decade, you've been paying 4 of them, and now you got another new one. And, you have all these different culture changes, and it's not working. And you look at how things are going at the top. If the top of the command, co-owner, CEO, whatever your title is up there, top Steve Tisch, working with the Mara family for all these years since the early 90s when your dad bought the team, he was the co-director or co-producer of Forrest Gump and some other movies out there. I mean, the guy in Hollywood was big. You think of what's the guy? There was a guy, the director in
Weinstein.
Hollywood. Yes, Weinstein. You look at all that and you start piecing it all together. This is all connected. There's not a coincidence here. All this stuff was going on openly in Hollywood. And the fact that he's coming into the NFL, whether it's his dad that bought the stake in 1991 like it happened, he still took over ownership, or his dad's ownership, in the mid-2000s when he passed away. And he's been part of this organization that's now won 2 Super Bowls, has had a hand in it, bringing in other talent and bringing in other people in power. You're having conversations like this with your professional email, inviting this heat into the NFL. If we're going to oust Daniel Snyder, we're going to oust Jerry Richardson, and we're going to oust other people in higher positions in the NFL. I see your argument. However, the one thing I'm not understanding, and this could be me being ignorant to the fact, but I just don't understand how you can ruffle feathers within the government if you are taking a in-house approach at the fact that you had transitional discussions of females as property to have relations of some sort in the best way I can say it right here and now. And because that has been ousted to the public, and yes, it was right before the Super Bowl, and they didn't want to have to talk about all that during that time. But now the Super Bowl's over. We're in the off season. If you're going to punish Stephon Diggs, even though that's a different situation because of him being physical with the female, and that's a whole different situation, and you're going to punish these players who are making bad decisions out here, I feel like if you're going to punish them for their mistakes, you have to punish ownership too. And there should be a way that you can do it without ruffling the feathers of the government, because I don't see where DJT can get involved and have anything to do with this if it's this man that made the moves and it's obvious on paper that he made the mistakes.
So, and by the way, I appreciate the in-house point. And by the way, if as we find out more, this is a story I feel like that's still forming. So I reserve the right here after February 16th, if more news comes out, other things come out.
Oh, obviously. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
For the record, I say that. And the point you make that those reports are out there is valid. His retort is, well, they were adult women. That doesn't make it warmer or fuzzier. I get it. Here's where I run into to issues with the NFL doing something. They are not a legal entity. I don't want the NFL in a position where they become a judicial entity. That is not their role. It never has been. It should never be. Now, I see where you're going to with precedent. Here's the issue. You can go with precedent if you like. I wouldn't use Daniel Snyder as your example, because one thing that's different between Daniel Snyder and Steve Tisch is Daniel Snyder is a repeat offender of doing raucous-ish. Okay, I almost cursed. So, there's degrees to this. There were some emails is different than the conduct going on in the building the way that it was with the Commanders. The whole reason I have to make the Red Tails joke should tell you everything you need to know. But listen, I don't want to get too lost in the example, but put to the point you're making. And should there be actual, shall we say, legal action set against Steve Tisch, so be it. If there's something that the NFL gets subpoenaed to disclose that may have somehow at least tangentially referenced the New York Giants, so be all that as well. I think they should comply and all the things that would come in there too. But I don't ever, ever want the NFL to be the one that is legislating. If they get public pressure to suspend a player for committing domestic violence, I mentioned Ray Rice. You mentioned Stephon Diggs. I don't know that that's the best example. I think that's a very different situation, but there is a difference between physical assault versus, something in an email. There are degrees to this that the legal system allows for that. Should people be punished for this? I mean, the NFL, to your point, the NFL does have that catch-all phrase in a lot of their contracts and wording, basically to protect the shield is the phrase that gets, thrown out a lot with a lot of these. I just don't want the NFL being the ones that decide all of this. That's not where I'm at. If it's something that actually has legs, could actually harm the league, like Daniel Snyder was, that's a separate conversation. I don't think we're there yet.
But for each offender of these different things that I brought up, I'll give you the Stephon Diggs was not the best one to bring up. But for the other ones that I had mentioned, there was a clear result by the end of it. It did drag out. Some of them took a year to 18 months to finally get a resolution for it.
And we're weeks in. Yeah, exactly.
And we're weeks in. Yes, I get your point. I feel like we as a public, we have to have some type of conclusion to this all. Like there has to be, if what we have now, even if there is more to come based on it, I feel like enough has been released now still, whether, the guy's got to get punished somehow, because if the others before him have done similar things, and in other cases worse things, and then in like your point with Daniel Snyder, repeat offender, of course you definitely deserve to be ousted. I'm not saying necessarily on what we know now he needs to sell his stake in the team and all this stuff. I'm saying that based on what we know now, there should be some type of repercussion one way or another, whether it's financial or revocation of some type of power for some period of time, whatever the case may be. I don't know. And just because
you with an example real quick that I think might help your point, Drew. This is how good I am. I can argue both sides. Maybe perhaps John Gruden's scenario is a better piece, right? Literally something that took place through emails was the use of a slur, right? Which I don't think is too different than eliciting lewd content, right? Email transaction, doing something wildly inappropriate. I think these are more like scenarios. And it ended up that John Gruden ended up having to lose his job, right?
Yeah, because in one result, you have somebody with the sharp tongue saying, something horribly wrong that's offending others and has been something that's said for centuries, decades, however you want to look at it, that's offended other, nationalities. In this case, this could be literally trafficking or the opportunity to traffic. And that's far worse, in my opinion, than what John Gruden did. Even though I don't condone what John Gruden said in those emails, and those who know me, I don't even have to defend myself. But when you compare the two,
slurring,
solicitation, yeah, absolutely. So that's where my concern is with this. You have John Gruden, who's still several years later, a half a decade later, still trying to get back into football with doing the things he's doing and still staying active and fighting his case outside of court. If we're going through all this for what somebody had said in the email that offended, I feel like something that somebody has alluded to potentially the transaction of, even if, and usually if it's going to that point before, they had a conversation in person, in my opinion, the way that I read it, they had a conversation in person. He saw Epstein before, and probably it worked out to where what they were alluding to in that email of potentially, in my opinion, doing it again. This is already something that had probably already transpired, even though I'm speculating because I wasn't there, but reading into it, if you're already that ballsy enough to speak about this stuff through an email to try to reach out and have it done, you either A, were a part of it because somebody in person introduced you to it and you had, in your opinion, a great night and you were trying to do it again, or B, somebody that in the circles did it and was trying to loop you in. So one way or another, you had an end to this bad behavior that we have known for quite some time was being done by the man in the graphic here. And I don't want to give him too much airtime, but I mean, he's standing right there beside him. You got Steve Tisch, Jeffrey Epstein, and of course, the NFL addressing this like they need to at some point, in my opinion. I definitely hear what you're saying, and a lot of great points.
Yeah, then the question becomes, if you're going to take in action, what would it be? Because at day's end, it's never going to be enough, right? Because of the heat surrounding this scenario. In no world where any NFL fan, in my opinion, think it's enough, right? I like it. I liken it in a lot of ways, again, to the Ray Rice situation. I think obviously that was physical and not just solicitation, but I think because it's a abhorrent behavior towards women, it has that similarity to it, right? And there's no answer you're going to give. There's no punishment you could levy. It is the Kobayashi Maru, man. And this guy's behavior took your league there. I think it's not from the NFL's perspective, it's not fair to drag everybody else, players, employees and otherwise, into something that this guy did on his time outside of the league. It's just such a slippery slope. Everything you're saying is ethically and perhaps even legally correct. Perhaps what the NFL needs to do is pull in a third party, some sort of perhaps legal entity, to do this on their behalf. That's probably the best move if they're going to attempt action. Here's the thing. That opens you up for discovery, and that's a whole other ball of wax that the NFL nor any other league owners, because other league owners are on the list, granted, like I mentioned, Stephen Ross, for far less, shall we say, relevant, it's not the right word, non-lascivious things, okay? It's just a dangerous thing, and who knows if you're stirring the pot that much with a guy that has connections like this, it's going to ruffle feathers, I think, if you do it that way. Again, a no-win scenario.
I mean, Josh Harris is even on the list too, but it's for something completely different. It has nothing to do with this side of that. It was right. For business discussions with a firm that he was working with at the time, and has no way, shape, or form any connection to the negativity side of the reports that are out right. there.
And like I mentioned, Stephen Ross was there just because Epstein was at a Jets-Dolphins game or something like that, you know.
Mm-hmm. But when you look at the magnitude of what was revealed for still a current owner in the NFL, it raises a lot of red flags, and especially to the context of what was thrown out there. I get your point, because you don't want to, open some doors that you don't need to, but I feel like with talking about it now, at some point, this is going to come back to the surface again. And the NFL is going to be forced to have to take action at some point, because
and this could come up in another 3 months on the In or Out Sports Debate.
It could, because there's a few with this situation, we're getting bits and pieces
right
throughout time, where even though they're supposed to release the whole thing, we're getting it's kind of like it's turning into like a Netflix docuseries or whatever, where we're getting we're getting quarterly updates of what's going on, to where it could be another 2-3 years before we get the full story. But if we got this much now, regardless of who else is involved, it's being covered up, and it's a whole nother can of worms, because like you said, we don't want to get political in here, have to deal with any of that flashback. But if you're getting this much now, and they're still going through so many documents to release things and make sense of it all, I feel like this isn't going to be the last we hear of this owner's involvement in this situation.
This is why I said what I said earlier, right? February 16th. With more news, I might change my mind.
But it'll be interesting to be able to put this with it to show the world we were talking about it before everybody else really was, because you look it up on the interwebs and there's not many people who are ballsy enough to do it. My head and my mind said otherwise.
And I'm dumb enough to let you drag me into
it. Six says, who knows if this Steve Tisch situation has not already been handled behind the scenes.
Yeah, there could be some sort of backdoor dealing. Okay, bad choice of words. There could be some sort of unknown dealings that could be underway or discussions that could be had. That's possible. Sidebars, if you will.
I think,
yeah,
with when you were alluding to, with it being February 16th, and there could be more to come, more to speak on later. I think this is literally when Six said that you just took the words right out of his mouth, because there's still more to know, still more to come, more than likely. And he also says, who remembers the Donald Sterling secret recordings, the scandal that cost him ownership of the LA Clippers?
And that's what's so different about that, Sick. Like, and I mentioned the Ray Rice case. I think Sterling and Ray Rice have in common. Like, if Ray Rice didn't get caught on video, he wouldn't have gotten the punishment that he did get and deserved, right? I don't care if that was his fiance and they eventually got married and all this other stuff or not. Like, my wife never got slung against an elevator door. That's all I'm saying. Okay. But, the having that smoking gun, air quotes, if that comes out for Tish, that's a completely different ballgame, right?
Ray Rice had that pre-Diddy treatment where he got him on camera.
Pre-Diddy, oh my God.
Pre-Diddy treatment, yes. You got that pre-Diddied. He got pre-Diddied where they caught him on camera, and that was the end.
And there wasn't even any baby oil in the elevator. Good God. Oh my God. Anyways. I'm trying to make jokes. This is really hard to do with this topic.
It really is, because Ray Rice definitely still is not joking about it. It cost him his career,
no doubt.
And Steve Tisch could be next. Just, you never know, but it'd be interesting. You never want to hear these things. I never wanted to hear this about an NFL owner. I never wanted to even allude to this could be the beginning of the end for somebody. But when you put yourself in this situation, especially in the context of what has already been released, of what you had said and participated in, just in that light alone, it changes my view of an individual, man. Like,
I get it. And let me add this too. I just thought of this. I meant to mention it earlier and I didn't. You talk about Dan Snyder got this for his conduct. What about Bob Kraft and his situation and how he got away basically unscathed? This is just an easy. He actually got a happy ending after the, well, never mind. But too soon? But no, but the long and the short is Bob Kraft's whole situation with the massage parlor. I have to bring it up and you have to be like, oh, right, that happened. So the precedent argument is tough when it comes to Tish. That's, and again, not saying he's a saint by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's appropriate that, again, your thumbnail puts me in this lawyer in hell scenario, because the scenario is hellish. There is a no-win scenario here, man. And if the NFL does something, I hope the way they do it is they bring in a third party or a legal entity to do that work, if there isn't some sort of enforcement authority already handling that.
Well, Bob Kraft got that treatment being, 6-time Super Bowl champion. And Steve Tisch has a third of them with 2. So, maybe we could.
At Bob's expense.
And at Bob's expense. So that could help him or hurt him in this case. So it'd be interesting to see how the next 12 to 18 months pan out with more leakage of files. And it'll be interesting to see if him or potentially others involved within the NFL and the hierarchy of the top of the chain potentially are discussed again. Be interesting to see if that happens. Hopefully not. I would much rather not have to bring this topic back up again, but I have a very strong feeling, Kyle Nash, that within the next 3 to 12 months, potentially, we could be talking about this again. When your 21st appearance on the show. And speaking of appearances on the show, it is that time within the program that we have to acknowledge the Vault of Fame.
Acknowledge me.
And it's time to acknowledge that Kyle Nash is now a 20-time Vault of Fame inductee here with episode 133 Kyle Nash 20 times. Tell him how you feel with being locked in the vault with all that gold, all that golden content of the past.
The honor, joy, and privilege that you bestow upon me. What can I say except you're welcome? No, but no, listen. I've always had a great time here on the In or Out Sports Debate. I've always had fun being the guinea pig. I believe I was one of your first 3-man panels. The opportunity to help bring in some of my guys, whether it's Travis D. Holmes of the Duval Dive, Jim Neese of Huddle Up Podcast. I'm sure there's somebody else. I'm just not remembering immediately. But then obviously with friends of ours as well, shouts to Darrell. Darrell owns a Legacy Maker, and just what a great time getting to meet people through you. I now am a lawyer in hell, but I know Black Jesus. Shouts to Corey, man. And just the cavalcade of experience I've enjoyed on this show and working with Sartoba Media and getting the friendship with you out of it as well, my man. Watching you succeed and grow, and now that you're in a place where you are in your professional life, to see, just watching all of that, watching you bounce back from your medical issues, as somebody who had a really bad Liz Frank fracture as a kid, having to come back from that after being told that he couldn't play sports ever again. By the way, that's post that injury, just to let you know. But to watch you recover in such a fashion yourself and come out of the other side of the challenges you had personally, would not have had any of that without In or Out Sports Debate and Sartoba Media being in my life so we can connect. And, it's bigger than anything else. And really at day's end, I think you being the wrestling fan that you are, the only way I can properly conclude this spiel is by saying, woo! That feels most appropriate.
That was golden, Kyle Nash. I absolutely love it, and thank you for the praise on that. And it's individuals like yourself that help make the content here. I put all the bows on it, all the graphics and everything in it, but it still takes the other individual to come up here and bring the fire, because that keeps me going. And then I bring it, and then it makes one great episode like we had tonight. And speaking of the episodes, before we move on, we do have to look at those that came before us, those 132 episodes that came before 133 right now.
Acknowledge me.
I want to take this time to kind of shout you out, Drew. You have taken a concept and made it into a whirlwind of fun for a lot of people. I know for myself, dude, I am proud of you, man. I want you to continue to do what you're doing. But the concept that you came up with, how much you put into it, how much you've changed it, how much you add to it, the work shows, man. So kudos to yourself. Round of applause for you, man. And I just wanted to say thank you for having me on again. It was a lot of fun. Look forward to the next one.
Shout out to Drew for letting me come on the show. It was a lot of fun. Honestly, didn't know what to expect coming into this, and I am super happy that I agreed to come on to this because it was a blast, well-produced show. Honestly, extremely impressed by all the effort you put into this show, Drew. Thank you for having me on, and I look forward to coming back on in the future.
Man, you took me back. This is why this show was so important, and this is why I am personally validating and vouching for this show. If you are anybody in media, sports, professional wrestling, anything, you need to be on In or Out Sports Debate with my man Drew Willingham, because this has got to be one of the most fun things I've ever done in a long time.
And all 132 of those brought us to this. The two lawyers from hell, as Kyle Nash has alluded to, from Sick Diggy, as he had said out here in the previous comments. This has definitely been another great episode tonight, as Sick added right up until that point. He said, I remember the whole mess regarding Ray Rice. The more accurate comparison would be Matt Brown, the place kicker.
Yeah, there's some there with that. The reason why I bring up Ray Rice in particular is because there was a suspension levied and on a really big pushback to that. So that's definitely something the NFL would want to avoid, is to come out, levy some sort of punishment, the public gets pissed, or where they have to do it again. That's a whole other mess. Yeah, Matt Brown. That's another situation we're citing, and later in the comments, I think Sick Dicky gets on a roll here too.
He then goes with Deshaun Watson. Anybody the towel? Yeah. Yes, bring the towel over. And
again, a repeat offender versus an email. Just saying.
Facts. And he also says, with that picture, I want to hear the judge yell, "Counselors, approach the bench," or "Counselors in my chambers now."
But Bishop Billwinkle, Your Honor, he just said no to the no.
Hell to the no, to the no, no, no. Hell no, to the no.
English, motherfucker, do you speak it?
I hadn't gotten that in at all during the episode. I felt like it was time. Now, Sick Dicky, perfect time. And somebody get Kyle the Ric Flair. Woo! Row. He needs to get his strut on for his 20 times here on the show.
I'll tell you what, Sick. For 21, since I would have to start, flaunting it a bit more, I'll come up with something for you to where I can live up to that Ric Flair treatment.
You're gonna be primetime Deion Sanders at that point.
I can't wear that much bling, like how would I sit up?
You'll have to tie like a chain around here on the back. I can't
wear the Jerry curl like that. I don't have the hair for it, man. That's not my look.
But 133 episodes, it has been absolutely fun to get here to this point. We do have one more thing we have to do before we get to the ending point, and that is the final word. And after everything you just said upon your Vault of Fame induction, I don't know how you're going to top that, but Kyle Nash, it's your turn. It's your time with your final word.
Well, I'd like to stay humble in this particular instance and thank two entities that helped make sure that this particular sports season, football in this case, kept it from being a situation where I had to be a lawyer in hell defending somebody, particular the NFL fan base. In this particular case, I refer to the Seattle Seahawks and the Indiana Hoosiers. Thank you both. Indiana Hoosiers football, by the way, just so we're clear on all that. Thank you very much for making sure that evil didn't run the place. Listen, I'm working for hell as a lawyer, apparently, and you wanted to try to bring in different emperors that are that evil. Which, by the way, Drew, I find it interesting that a team called the Patriots did their best impression of King George from Hamilton talking to the national media, right? How desperate was the national media to get the Patriots and glaze all over them? I can only picture the Patriots just all singing, "You'll be back, wait and see," just like the king from Hamilton, okay? The Patriots was like British King George. Too much for me to handle. But the real thing the Seattle Seahawks did, exactly, the Seattle Seahawks prevented the easiest schedule in half a decade from rendering the Super Bowl to a quarterback that is overrated and doesn't deserve it. He may have problems next year with the first place schedule. See what I did there? Then, as far as teams that also didn't belong, the Miami Hurricanes not belonging in the playoff in the first place is another thing. I appreciate that they made the most of the opportunity, right? But they were the team this year, like Notre Dame was last year, that set the bar. Okay, we don't belong. Cool. Then beat us. And then teams couldn't. It was a whole thing. Thank you to the Indiana Hoosiers for not giving any sort of extra ego to the ACC, a team that didn't even belong in the damn playoffs for all intents and purposes. You know how I know that? Their conference champion was nowhere near it. It didn't look particularly good in their particular bowl game. By the way, the runner-up got beat by Big 12 team BYU that also belonged in there more than the Miami Hurricanes. But nobody wants to talk about that. Thank you to the Indiana Hoosiers for again righting the wrong. And by the way, exposing Ohio State as a potential fraud. They got beat twice. No one's talking about that. Anyways, thank you, Seahawks and Hoosiers, for stopping evil from perpetuating. Hopefully, the NFL could do the same with any implications surrounding the Epstein list.
Wow. I'm not going to be able to come anywhere close to that. I already know. With what Kyle Nash just delivered, that was absolute fire, and I am cooked.
You guys want to hear a fucking story?
The story is that I'm about to get cooked. I'm going to try my best, but Kyle Nash just absolutely burned me on that final word. I'm
You asked me to top it. You said you top what you just did. I tried.
I'm not mad at it. I'm 1,000% proud of it. As Six says throughout that, can Kyle high step it like Deion Sanders instead for his 21?
Here's the thing. I would high step it like Deion, but then like when he was playing for the 49ers against the Falcons, I too would pull my hamstring as I got into the end zone. But the answer is yes, I could.
It'd be interesting to see that. I would pay definitely to see that Kyle Nash high stepping. That would be absolutely great out here in these streams if I had a way to add it here. But speaking of adding things, there I am. I'm right here. For the first time in 50 days, this show is back on the airwaves. The reason why I did not have a breaking news earlier and announce another episode is I honestly don't know when I'm going to be bringing another one back. Tonight is a holiday, President's Day. I was off from my full-time career, started a new opportunity earlier last month, and it's been a big shift working from the night schedule, working literally like till 3 a.m. and being up till 5:30 in the morning to now getting up at 5:30 in the morning, working till the day. Throughout the day. I'm not complaining. I love it. It's nice being up during the day and when the sun's up and getting home when the sun's up and having a normal schedule. Like it has been nice, but I will be 1,000% honest. Adjusting to the sleep schedule was a change. A lot has happened in my life personally over the last decade, and my body feels like I'm almost 40 years old now. My body actually probably feels older than that. I'm doing the best I can to keep up and still do things I did in my earlier 30s with this media game. And I've stepped it up in some areas and I've had a lot of fun with it. And if people were paying attention throughout the last month or so, I've been making these like parody posters. Like if there was a Die Hard 6 and created my own character, I was Bruce Willis. So yes, Bruce Willis, and Willis doesn't give a fuck in honor of Ike, which I haven't seen Ike tonight, by the way. So hopefully you're watching the replay and saw that we gave you your props, because the character Willis doesn't give a fuck was created because of you, Ike. So thank you very much. But I've kind of settled more on Bruce Willis. There's something about that, just taking the B out, putting a D, and honoring the legend of Bruce Willis, who is one of my favorite actors of all time, getting to be Bruce Willis and living behind that poster and saying to myself, with all this practice, it's time to come on back, to bring the show back that is brought to you by
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.
This entity, my baby. I love it. I missed it, but I'm not sure if I'll be back next week or not. Kyle and I kind of decided literally within the past 48 hours that we were doing this for tonight and working around his schedule. Shout out to him again for making time for this tonight, to be here with me and have fun. This has been another great past hour and a half, little over hour and a half now as we're wrapping things up. I'm going to try my best to come back next week with another one, but it just depends on how my schedule goes for the rest of the week, and how I continue to adapt to the changes. And again, I love everything about it. I love working during the day. I love what I'm doing. It's just the sleep schedule and getting used to that and how I'm feeling tomorrow and how I'm going to feel this weekend. And, by Friday, if I'm like, let's pump out another one and start reaching out to other people and potentially scheduling it, I think that could be a possibility. I think it could be, as far as a weekly thing, again, it's going to be potentially March, maybe April, before I start locking it down for, okay, we're definitely doing this each week again. So I just want to make sure I'm 100% ready to do it again. And today I was off for the holiday, so that was pretty cool. I'm not used to having like some of these holidays off that I've got with this new shift. So that's really cool. And a lot of great things, a lot of things I can't say on the air that I'd have to tell you either in person. And there's still a lot of things I can't even say at all just because of the type of the level of the career it is. So very grateful to have the opportunity and the privilege, and looking forward to the future with how my growth has been in the IT world over the last 7 to 8 years. And especially with those of you who have kept up with me here with this, I really wish I could be consistent and do it each and every single week and keep the viewership and continue to grow on that. And that's still a goal. I'm just still trying to figure out how I'm going to do all that and what it looks like throughout 2026. My eye for the vision of 2026 has changed a little bit because of how things are structured now. But the end goal is still the same if I can still work it out together. Just have to figure out how. But right now, the important things are lined up first. And this is still important to me. Don't twist it any way differently. It's still important. But, of course, the priorities come first. And to be able to bring this back tonight and to be able to still have the platform that I've created for it is a blessing. And for all of you out there who have watched it and keep up with it during the live stream and the replays, thank you so much. And to any of you who would like and share and subscribe to the platform and to this video, it would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to my colleagues who help me out with the content out here. But with this show right here, whether it's the graphics, the videos, the participation, it's all me, except for whoever shows up, and Kyle Nash brings the fire every single time. And that's not me being egotistical or everything. That's just me being 1000% real out here in these streams. Kyle Nash. There's one thing I want to do that's a little different than the previous episodes on our way out. I want to share something. You saw it and you loved it, and other people have loved it too. And I think this is going to be how I close the episodes out. When it comes to closing the show, remember, you got to bet on yourself. You got to outwork the doubt, and you got to leave a legacy. Most importantly, though, and as always, no matter what episode you go back and watch, to then to now, I need you to stay safe out here in these streets.
Sertoba Media, where the struggle is real to be awesome.